Today I'm going to show you my #1 watercolor tip that I tell every student that will help you improve the quickest. Let's take a look. It's springtime here in Kansas City, and that means it's time to get outside and paint more. And so that's what I've been up to lately. I've been getting outside as much as I can to experience plein air painting and really push myself and stretch myself to keep on continuing to grow. One thing you're going to realize if you paint outside is that it is a new challenge. It is completely different than studio painting, and every spring it's a little bit like starting over. And so this spring I wanted to speed that up for myself. I wanted to get back in the groove of painting outside as quickly as I could. If I ever hit a bump along the way, or if I'm struggling with something, I have to remember to practice what I preach. And that is that I needed to follow my own advice that I tell every student that's learning watercolor, that I tell every painter that's been painting for a while that wants to improve, and that is to paint small and to paint often. And I know that that sounds so simple, but today I'm going to tell you why that is so effective and why that is still my #1 bit of advice for watercolor students. Watercolor demands a keen sense of timing. There are certain effects that you can only get when your paper is so wet or so dry. We are really dependent on timing when it comes to painting. How much paint do you have on your brush? How much water is on your brush? And the only way to get a good feel for this is by a lot of repetitions. And so when we are first starting out painting, we want to paint large. We want to paint the size of paintings that we're used to seeing. And we sometimes shy away from doing what we know we need to do, and that is to paint small. Now, we also have to think about drawing, composition, mixing, and each one of these skills takes time to develop. Also, it's just less of a time commitment and less of a psychological commitment. If you spend a long time drawing a complicated scene, and then your first wash, your first sky wash, or whatever it is that you're painting at the beginning of your process, if it doesn't go right, we feel so frustrated, like we've just wasted a lot of time. And so by committing to these little paintings, it's less of a time commitment, it's less of a mental commitment as well. When we paint this way, we are more open to exploring, learning, making mistakes. When it came to getting back outside this season and painting, I followed my own advice and I decided to paint small. I remembered something from a book I'd read a long time ago, and this book is Watercolor Workshop Handbook by Robert Wade. This book has a lot of great information in it, so I recommend checking that out. But one thing that he mentions doing that I decided to do was to tape off a piece of watercolor paper into separate smaller squares and then paint a few different scenes. And then when you peel all the tape off, you're left with this nice piece of art that has several paintings on it. You can do a simple 4 paintings on one sheet, or you can do some, a different arrangement of paintings as well. This one is really cool. Very different variety of subjects all on one sheet of paper. It's a great way to approach not only painting in the studio, but plein air painting as well. And you can get little snippets of similar subjects or different subjects and paint them all on one sheet. And one of the most fun things to do with this is to peel off the tape and see what you're left with. So recently I did some plein air painting. Here was a scene of a pond in a park, and I just wanted to work on negatively painting around some branches here and getting a good sense of water. I came over a hill at the park and I just had a nice little view of distance, and so I wanted to play with cooling down that color temperature of the background versus the strength of a tree that was in front of it. This I painted when my son was fishing with my dad. I just had a couple minutes to get down a quick idea. I wanted to get the light really hitting the shore and really paint these reflections in a connected way. And this was a rainy day, and I wanted to just show that difference in color and in value of the cool distance and the more vibrant green of the tree it was closer to me. So it's a great way to get down some quick ideas. Once you peel off all the tape, you're left with this collection of paintings, and you can sign and date each painting. You could write little notes in the margins here. It's really an attractive, convenient way to paint a lot of paintings and to gather that information. Again, I didn't want to do a full painting. I wanted to just get little notes. Even if you're more experienced, painting small and quick can really help you get down those ideas. And if you're a beginner, painting small can really help you practice those fundamental skills that are so important. And the more practice you get at that, the quicker you get those reps, the faster that you are going to progress as a painter. Well, if you are ready to take that next big step forward in your painting, I have a free video lesson just for you. The 7 Secrets of Fresh and Powerful Painting. Now in this video lesson, I talk about how to plan your painting, how to mindfully paint your scene, and how to know when to put your brush down before you overwork your painting. When you sign up for this lesson, I send you 2 things. I send you a pre-painting checklist. And this is something that you can look at each time before you start your painting to ensure that you're thinking through the right things as you get started. That's so important. And the second thing I send you is my watercolor supplies guide. If you have questions about the brushes, the paper, the pigments that I use, I go over all of that in my watercolor supplies guide. It's really easy to get started with this video lesson. All you have to do is follow this link here to get my free lesson, The 7 Secrets of Fresh and Powerful Painting. I'll see you there.